And this actually has kind of left a lot of people kind of puzzling about the issue. I don't know if you can read it at the back. I'll have to be careful in it. What I did was, in another paper I've done, is I broke out this trend into 3 different areas. The first one was that if you had technical progress that occurred year after year, that could reduce energy demand. And technical progress is not only improving energy efficiency in a process, it can also be moving from a very energy-intensive activity to a less energy-intensive activity. So it's very important to kind of, to at least allow that to happen in the equations. And it's not easy to do that. You have to be careful when you evaluate that. The second issue, and it's hard for me to read, so I have to look over here. Yes. Second issue is exactly what I described before, is that you had these past price shocks that not only did they happen, but they happened and they kind of permanently reduced energy demand levels over time. So you need to pick up those variables as well. And then finally, you have a lot of kind of temporary movements in the things. It could be weather, it could be lifestyle changes that are coming in. They're really variables that are really very hard to measure, but you know that they exist. Well, you got to kind of allow those things to have their say as well. And if you do, you basically end up with a kind of I think one of the things I've noticed is that you get, if you're actually projecting demand with this kind of a model that has all these different effects in it, you actually end up with a lower demand level than you would get if you simply ignored that. And I think that's really important. You know, like I'm just thinking a little bit about some of the projections. You know, a lot of the demand projections that Dermot was talking about earlier they could potentially have this kind of implicitly they could have this effect that people feel that automobiles over time will become more energy efficient over time. There's be more research going on and making the internal combustion equipment better. And that could be going on in some of these models that EIA and other people are putting on there. And I'm not sure where they would fit in a model that simply didn't have those kinds of estimates put forward. So that's a second important issue, particularly if you're thinking about climate change issues. That's the reason why I'm raising this. And then finally, I've often been worried about this, and I talk to people about it, and some people think I should be worried about it, some people think I shouldn't be. But oftentimes when I estimate a demand equation, okay, as the price goes up, consumption goes down. So I'm estimating this kind of a relationship, and if this is for gasoline, we know why that happens, why people reduce their consumption. They're picking up more efficient automobiles. It would be one possibility. A second possibility is they actually drive less miles and so forth. But it also seems that if I look at some of these countries, as you raise the price, you're also going to start getting into a level where you're starting to get some competition from other types of ways of providing transportation. Now, I don't think we're there. We are there yet. We are really quite a bit fairly removed from that. But if you have the opportunity, I mean, you know, if you think about a country like Pakistan that has moved so quickly to compress natural gas, and they've moved off of oil, if I was an oil producer, I would be a little wondering about, well, okay, they did it there, can it be done elsewhere in a few other countries? And if it could be done there, that's a thing you have to be concerned about. Additionally, policies, we haven't even talked about it, but some countries may just say, I don't care what it costs, I just want to get off of oil. I mean, if you take the oil price projections that EIA has and run it through a lot of these countries that are importing all kinds of oil, I just don't see how that's going to happen. I think they're going to be kind of forced into moving these kinds of projections. So I guess I'm a little cautious. I'm going to urge a little bit of caution in thinking about how high oil prices can go, because I think these forces are really, really key and really important. So let me move on to, wow, I'm using much more time than I want. So let me I'll just kind of end up, in fact, I could probably, the supply issue, I wasn't really going to talk a lot about it, but I am kind of struck by one piece of analysis where they began with the estimate from the United States government's, United States Geological Survey. They had estimates. They had to put, these are estimates of ultimately recovered resources. Then they had to put cost data to that because they wanted to know how much it would cost to produce each of these levels. And this has to do with how much oil there is out there to be produced at any time in the future. It's not for any particular year. One of the important things that I had not realized fully was the difference between what USGS estimates and what the total world provinces look like. There are a number of provinces, I think like total 900 provinces, only 400 of which are being estimated by the United States Geological Survey. And so you have to make estimates about what's going to go on in those regions. These are smaller regions, so they're not as important. They won't have as much oil, but they still are regions you can't ignore. And then, of course, you have to add in the unconventional sources as well. And this particular paper done by, I did put it, Aguilera, Tilton, and his colleagues suggests that there's a little more oil out there than maybe some of the estimates that are some of the previous estimates. Now, I don't know which is the right story or not, but I think we have to have a kind of an open view on this, that maybe the world prospects are changing. Just by a side, I was talking to someone about the shale gas development, and he said, yeah, it's interesting what's going on, but now that the oil prices are so high, we're taking the same technology and we're looking for oil. And God, if they start making a development like that we haven't come across, it could change things longer term. So I think those are issues that people have to address when they're looking at those issues. I didn't say much about OPEC. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let me just, in my view, there really isn't a credible and verifiable theory about OPEC, and I have lots, I think people have already raised these issues before, that basically it's hard to understand if OPEC decides not to maximize its economic wealth, it doesn't really sacrifice a lot if it changes its production from its maximum level. And some of the studies emphasize that behavior is constantly changing, and be kind of interesting to ask the question, if Iraqi oil production comes online, what is OPEC's behavior going to be? And we could, maybe we have over lunch we could kind of have a poll on that. But I mean, those issues are really important. And so I think I probably should just finalize that. So we can have a few questions. I think I already asked, we've got sophisticated computer modeling software going ahead, lots of high frequency data. More complexity, I think, is going to have us asking some pretty hard questions like, are we really addressing the right issues, or are we just kind of going where our modeling techniques can take us? That's a really important issue. And then the other one is, you got your results. How do you explain that to the decision maker? Because ultimately, I think that's my reason for why I think these models have some useful information. And then what would I say? The issue combining the climate modeling with the oil modeling is very important. And so I think with that, I'll just wrap up so we can at least get a couple of questions in there. Thank you.